Yo, I want to talk about the Frostivus custom game contest conclusion, right? Now I want to talk about a few things here because I'm sure if you've paid any attention to the Dota 2 subreddit, you have noticed that everybody's like really upset. Like the custom game community is coming out like in large force, a lot of creators, basically all of the big ones, right? Like you've got Dark Lord, you've got Carol, you've got Ahawk, you've got Dota Imba, both of the developers. Everybody's speaking out and getting upset over this. And I want to explain why people are upset, and I want to explain what Valve did wrong, and I want to explain basically all points of views that I see. I do want to make clear from the beginning, though, that I don't share all of these. I just want to explain them, right? So the thing is, like, there are some points of views in here that are gonna be kind of attacking the custom game that won. And I personally want to make clear from the beginning, I do not agree with those. But I do want to bring them up just because they are a part of the discussion. Just because I don't agree with them doesn't mean... like, I actually think the majority of people will agree with them, but I don't. Alright? Cool. Anyway, so let's get into it. I want to start out by looking at a specific thing. And that specific thing is actually just the blog post that Dota 2 made about the Frostivus custom game contest. Alright, that's the first thing I want to get into here. So this right here is the blog post. We've got the Frostivus custom game contest, this is just a bunch of nonsense. A winning entry will be selected by Valve and will receive a prize of $30,000. While the deadline for submitting the final copy is November 20th, we suggest that you involve the community during your development process earlier and have them play the game to give you feedback. There we go, and yeah, that's like basically all we know. That's all they gave us. Then there's the Frostivus 2017 contest rules. Now here are some pretty important things in here. There are some pretty anyway. Requirements for entries. Entries must be a new game mode for Dota 2 heavily themed around Frostivus. And then this is really the main thing I want to talk about. And then there's like a whole bunch of other stuff, right? Entries can only have two sources for game materials. A, original content created by one of the named contributors to the workshop submission, or B, content from any Valve game. And so on. How to enter, blah, blah, blah. Not that important. Here, this one is important though. The winning entry will be selected by Valve in its sole discretion. Valve will announce the winning entry on the Dota 2 blog within a maximum of 8 weeks after the entry deadline. So, this is pretty important here. This is pretty important here, right? The very, this line right here will be selected by Valve in its sole discretion. Made it so that everybody is pretty certain that, or was certain that it wasn't a popularity contest. In fact, nobody bothered to really go for you know, like getting a lot of people to play the game outside of testing it, because they didn't really care for having a high amount of player base, because they thought the game wasn't a popularity contest. However, we now aren't sure anymore. And this is the big problem. And this is something you will hear a lot throughout this while I explain this. This lack of certainty, this lack of knowing what is actually going on has plagued this entire contest. People did not know how to handle any of this. So let me go and actually go back to one important problem. So this right here is the deadline, right? All 3 steps must be completed by the entry deadline of 4 in the morning Pacific time on the morning of November 20th, 2017. Nobody knew if you could still update your game. Right? Like, people just didn't know if you could still update your game. And that is a pretty big deal, right? Like, that makes a huge difference whether or not the game has to be done by then and then you're not allowed to work on it anymore, or if you're still allowed to update your game. And that uncertainty existed even after the deadline had passed. Nobody knew, because Valve wouldn't tell anybody. Like, nobody knew. And it's not like we didn't ask. People did ask repeatedly, and nobody got told anything. Until eventually, after the deadline had already passed, Valve did confirm that you are allowed to continue updating the game, but only minor bug fixes, and then there's no guarantee that they will actually be in the judging process, which is a bunch of nonsense. Right? That's already like a load of bullshit. But anyway. So, let's get into the winner really quick. Who won the custom game contest? It ended up being Vic Frank. This surprised literally everybody, including Vic Frank. Frostivus arrives. Please join us in offering a hearty congratulations to Vic Frank, the workshop contributor who created this winning entry and has secured the $30,000 grand prize. Thank you to all of the contributors who worked hard to help make this contest a resounding success. So, here is the first major issue. They don't talk about any other game. They don't mention any other game. They don't address any other game. They don't even acknowledge any other game. The only thing they say about the hundreds, the thousands of man-hours that have been put into these games is this one line of bullshit marketing speech. Thank you to all of the contributors who worked hard to help make this contest a resounding success. In what world was it a resounding success? Throughout the entirety, people didn't know how long they were allowed to work on it. You extended the deadline in the last second, which admittedly I was pushing for the deadline to be extended, but the fact that you still did, like that is kind of a problem, right? You broke the arcade twice during the period of time that the contest was on. Not just in the beginning stages, that would be fine, that would be annoying but manageable, but you broke it twice before the fucking deadline, like 2 weeks ahead of the deadline. In what world was it a resounding success? I was in the development Discord towards the end. You have no idea how freaked out everybody was. Like, people had no idea. There was this huge thing going on in the development Discord where people were shouting at each other, which is like, can we continue updating our games? Can we continue updating our games, right? And then I had the problem that our game actually had a pretty big bug that we didn't find before the deadline. And I was freaking the fuck out. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. I was just completely freaking out because I wasn't sure if I'm allowed to touch the game or not. We ended up just fixing that bug, but we didn't know if it was okay. And it ended up being this like giant game of chicken, basically, where people were like, well, can we fix bugs or can we not? And some people were saying, well, no, you clearly can't because the deadline has passed. And other people were saying, well, they didn't really specify that the deadline and the extended deadline is at the exact same time. They didn't say that at all. And they're like, that's kind of fishy. And then they're like, but we gotta fix bugs, right? Like, it ended up being this giant game of chicken. And the important problem there was no real way in the client to know either, right? Like, you would think that they would just lock the submissions. Like, that's how I would have done it. I would have said, you need to have it done by then, and we're going to lock the submissions on that day. And I'm like, okay, cool, makes sense, right? But they didn't. You could just continue updating. Like, people just did. So I was sitting there, panicked, freaking out, while I saw other developers updating their game, right? I saw Dark Lord updating Frostivus because Dark Lord was just like, well, I can't submit this because this is broken. I need to update this. And I'm just like, I get it, but I don't know if I want to risk that. Do you understand that, like, major problem? People were so upset. I'm not gonna lie, I threw some choice words around. I did. And if Ahawk sees this, sorry. I may have gone a little far. But the thing is that saying this was a resounding success, that's just not true. In what world was it a resounding success, And, oh man. Anyway. So, here's the problem. Right? They picked a game that, whatever. Let's talk about that later, right? Again, I want to not really talk about the game right now, but they picked a game. And they didn't acknowledge anybody else. And to me, that's just insulting. Right? That is what really upset me. That is what really, really upset me. Because there's no way to, like, I've addressed this before. If you want to go, like, and watch my previous video on the arcade where I explain how we need to fix the top 10 list and how the top 10 list is destroying it, because no new games can actually get any sort of player base. But this was, like, a major issue, right? This was a major issue with, you know, like, getting these games started. So people just couldn't get a player base. And gotta structure my thoughts here for a second. So you go back, you know, you watch that video if you haven't seen it yet. The top 10 list is like super harmful to the arcade. But the problem here is that we put so much work into this stuff. Right? I myself, I put surely 100 hours into it. Right? Like, just straight up, while working 2 jobs, I also spent like 100 hours just working on this, pushing as much as I can, fine-tuning the balance as much as I can, trying my very hardest, right? And my thinking was, even if we don't win, if I just get an honorable mention, I'm happy. Like, that's what I was shooting for. I wasn't honestly thinking I would win. I really didn't believe that. I mean, you gotta be optimistic, but realistically speaking, there's a lot of good games out there, and I didn't think we would make it. But I wanted to get an honorable mention. That was my plan. I'm sure there were lots of other people that were going for the same thing, because an honorable mention is something that is worth something. You know, like, I can say I'm a runner-up in this contest. That means something to me. That holds significance to me, because that means that's actually something I can put on a resume item, right? And I put so much work into it. And there's so many great games out there. There's It's Grieveling. We can go through the list really quick, right? Like, games that I consider to be like absolutely top fucking tier here, right? Like, I think this one is a good game. The Snowman Story is absolutely something worthwhile. You've got Frostivus, right? Like, Frostivus, you can see 55 people playing right now. It's actually pretty damn popular. People really like this game. It's Grieveling is beautiful. It has 0 people playing, 700 subscriptions though, right? This right here is the game I personally thought would win. It has 700 subscriptions. Right, you've got Winterstorm, this game right here, by Avalon Studio, made by a professional game studio, right? Like, you've got the Grieveling, which is a beautiful mess. It is a bit of a mess, but it's a beautiful mess, right? You've got Snowtown Throwdown. This game looks as if it was its own game. It doesn't look like it was made in Dota. I mean, just look at these screenshots right here, right? Like, while it's not a perfect game, it does have a lot of flaws. It is something that at least is worth a mention, all right? It is at least worth a mention. And then, of course, I think my game, our game that we worked so hard on, you know, should at least have earned a mention of sorts. And we put so much work into this, but we don't get anything from them, right? The thing is that we have put all of this work into it. Because of the way the arcade is set up, we will not be able to get players on our games. We won't be able to pursue working on them, because they will never be able to gather a player base, with some exceptions. We didn't get anything. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. We don't even know why the game that was chosen, right? Like, I wish I knew why they chose Frostivus Festival. And this is the game that won. So let's talk about Frostivus Festival really quick. Frostivus Festival is Omni Party. And if I say Frostivus Festival is Omni Party, I don't mean it is similar to Omni Party. I mean it is exactly Omni Party. It is just straight up Omni Party. Now, the thing about Frostivus Festival is it's a fine game, but this game was ready a long time before, like, basically any other one. Or, I don't know, like, that's probably not true. Like, you can see it was still updating towards the end here, but, like, it was a game that it just doesn't have that much content. It's not that big of a game. It's not that significant of a game. And the Frostivus Festival, okay, here's the problem. Alright, and this is something that bothers me a bit. Entries must be a new game mode for Dota 2. I feel like this is fairly clear. Entries must be a new game mode for Dota 2. This is not a new game mode. This literally exists. Right? This literally exists. It's literally called Omni Party. There it is. Has it been updated in a while? No, but it's Omni Party. It's the same thing. It's the same game. It's Ufa Party before that, which is the same thing, right? And it also, here's the second point, this is rule number 1. The first thing, heavily themed around Frostivus. If anybody can explain to me how Frostivus Festival is heavily themed around Frostivus, I would gladly listen to you, because I don't know. It's Omni Party with snow. Like, that's it. There are no Frostivus themes in there. And there are Frostivus themes. Like, look at this right here. Now to truly foster the holiday spirit and resurrect the tradition of truce. Right? Like, and this is the thing, truce. Like, this is what I always kept talking about. Truce, truce, truce. I kind of built my game around the idea of truce, of heroes coming together and working towards a common goal. You know, about working together with the Dire, the Radiant, and Roshan, all coming as one uniting force. But what about Frostivus Festival? Is heavily themed around Frostivus. It's just Frostivus, it's just Omni Party with snow. And here's the thing. I personally like Frostivus Festival. And I even said when I made a video on it that if it wins, I'm not gonna be super surprised. I mean, I will be surprised, but like, I think it has a chance at winning. And I still believe that. I still think it's a good game. And honestly, the fact that it won wasn't like, oh my god, like, I can't believe it. But I just wish I knew why. And this is really the big problem. This is the big problem, right? There's no explanation given. Like, we're not asking for a lot here. We just want some feedback. We just want some feedback. That's all. I don't mind this game winning. Again, I didn't think my game would win. I was shooting for an honorable mention. That was my goal, right? I made the best game I could, but I was, if I get an honorable mention, I would be happy. But I just want to know why you chose this game. I just want the feedback. That's all. Give me some feedback. Give me a reason to believe that you actually tried the other games. Right? The problem is they don't mention any of the other games. They don't talk about any of the other games. Right? They don't address anything that they even exist. They don't explain why they chose the game they chose. And here's the last thing. Okay? Here's where it gets a little bit fishy. And let me I gotta open this up really quick. One second. Yeah, here's the thing, right? So here's the list of Frostivus games. If we sort by most subscribed, we have Skate Master, which is not a new game. This, which is not a new game. This, which is not a new game. This, which is not a new game. And then the Frostivus Festival. Now, before, we used to have Festivus actually be on top of the Frostivus Festival. Festivus actually used to have more subscribers than Frostivus Festival, but Festivus used to also has copyright issues. Now, the Festivus has copyright issues. We currently have really no reason to believe that they actually tried the games. And that they didn't just choose the first game that was in any way eligible with the most subscribers and just pick that one. And in that case, if that is true, and I'm not saying it is, again, I want to clarify again here. I'm just trying to explain why people are upset. And there are many reasons why people are upset. And not everybody's upset over the same reasons. People have different beliefs here, right? I personally don't believe that they just took the most popular game, right? But there are people that do. And I think there's a reasonable argument to be made for it. But if they just chose the most popular game, then that is very upsetting. Because do you know why this game is the most popular? Because Bulldog streamed it like 3 times. And I mean, that's cool and all. But I didn't think this was the Bulldog custom game contest. Now here's the thing. If you had told me from the very beginning this was a popularity contest, I would have literally offered Bulldog $30,000 to stream my game 24/7 for a month. And I'm sure, well, not 24/7, but like to stream my game once a day. You know, maybe 2 rounds for a month. And I'm sure we would have gotten the most subscribers that way. But I didn't think that's what the contest was about. Now, here is another thing. Let me go ahead and read out a quote to you. Okay? Let me go ahead and read out a quote to you. Now, I don't know if this is true, but I just want to put it out there. So, another contestant in this custom game contest sent me this message. It says in the message, don't quote me on this, but I asked him afterwards if it's okay if I quote him on it, and he said it's okay if I quote him on it. So, I'm going to quote him on it. Hey, I think you've been wondering if Valve even tried the entries. I highly doubt that. My game was probably in the top... Oh, let me try that one again. I highly doubt that. My game probably was in the top 10 subscriber-wise, and I'm almost sure they didn't try it. Once someone plays my custom game, a database entry is created on my server. I cross-referenced that database with the Steams of the 223 Valve devs currently in the official Valve Steam group. None of them were in my database. This isn't 100% proof they didn't play it. They could have tried it in offline mode or with different accounts. But looking how the rest of the content was handled, I guess they didn't try many entries, or even any at all. So again, I don't know what to think of this. Do I believe it? I'm not sure. And that's the problem. Right? My point isn't so much that any of these issues in particular kind of like stole the win from me or anything like that. That's not my point. But my point is that there's this layer of uncertainty that has plagued this entire contest. And it just concluded with one giant veil of uncertainty being placed on top of that. Where people are not communicated with. People are not told anything. Nobody knows what's going on. And they don't even bother giving us an honorable mention or, like point people towards the other custom games. They don't make a list of other games they enjoyed. They don't give any indication that they actually played games. There's just nothing. Now here's the thing, and this is how I feel, right? Now up to this point, I was just trying to lay out the like general feeling, all right, the general like the problems Here's how I personally feel, and I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. I feel that when I joined this contest, I kind of entered into an agreement of trust with Valve. Another agreement was I'm going to make a game, and I'm going to make a game for you. I'm going to spend a lot of time making this game, and I'm going to do my best to make the best game I possibly can. And I expect from you that you will judge my game fairly, and that you will treat me well, and that you will make this a fair and honest contest. And I didn't get that feeling. I instead got the feeling that they don't care about us. I got the feeling that they don't give a shit about any of our games. That they just cheaply outsourced their event and then didn't actually bother looking at every single game. That they don't really care about the rules themselves, because to them the rules were just some rough guidelines that really nobody has to stick to as long as they get their game and can just disregard everything else. I feel like they use the custom game community. I feel like they, this is just me personally, right? But I feel like they used us for their own gain, with giving very little in return. And I feel like they just treated us so horribly that if there's another contest, I will not join. I, in fact, feel so discouraged by this entire contest that I don't think I will be making a new custom game for Dota ever again. I'm going to continue working on Open Angel Arena because I really like Open Angel Arena. But, me and Chris, we were discussing, making a new game, maybe. And I don't think we'll be discussing that anymore, because we just don't want to work in this environment where we are just being used and then tossed to the side. And, really all I was asking for was acknowledgement. I didn't want the win. I mean, I wanted to win, but if I can't have the win, and I didn't ever think I could have the win, all I was hoping for is for them to say, hey, take a look at these other games. Like, they are good games and they're worth playing. We're not going to have them be the winning game, but you should at least take a look. And hey, look, Snowtown Throwdown is beautiful. You should definitely take a look. And It's Greveling is this really innovative design with, like you create little Pokemon that you carry around. But it's really not like Pokemon. It's just an easy way to explain it. And, in this game, you become a snowman where like two players control it together and you kind of work together. And in this game, you kind of save Frostivus while going up against a horde. And, and I'm just sad. That's all. Like, again, I know people in chat are claiming that I'm lying or that I'm not, not being completely honest or something. But I promise you I am. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm not that good of an actor. But yeah, like I really didn't ever think I could win. Or I would win, I guess. Yeah. But I didn't think I would just be tossed to the side without even the slightest mention, without even the slightest acknowledgement of all the work I've put in. And that's what I think that's how everybody feels. And that is the general feeling that I get from the custom game community right now. This is not just me, but this is how many people feel right now. They just have this like sense of, oh, I mean, I guess we could have expected this, but we didn't expect it to be this bad. You know, like, the custom game community didn't look at this contest and then say, oh, yeah, surely Valve will just use us and then disregard us. But yeah. There are many custom game creators that are horribly upset over this. Many are more upset than me. And there are many that are saying, oh, this game shouldn't have won, this game is bad, this game is terrible, and all of that. Again, I don't necessarily agree with that, but I want to point out one thing. I really want to encourage you to play the other games. Because Valve doesn't give a shit. They don't care about us. We don't matter to them. And I honestly don't think there was much of a future to the custom game community after seeing this this disaster. But if you could do the games the honor, play Frostivus, the Snowman Story. Play Frostivus Jewels. This game is actually a ton of fun. I really love this. It's very simple, but it's it's a real pleasure to play. Please play Festivus. This game is, you're gonna have the time of your life, right? Play Frost Tribes once it's, like if the guy keeps working on it. This game is innovative and, well, not, I wouldn't say innovative, but it's something that doesn't really exist in Dota. It's great. Play It's Greeveling. This game is truly innovative. It has great design. It has its flaws, but it's also just, it's just kind of like its own special little thing. Play Winterstorm. It's a remake of classic Warcraft 3 mods. Play Before the Frost. I'm not actually sure what this is right now, but sure, play it. Alright, play Snow Brawlers. Play Decoration Dash. Play Frostivus, a Crystal Maiden game. Play Snowtown Throwdown. Frostivus Brawl. Payload on Winterslane. At this point, I want to give shoutouts. I want to give shoutouts to Dark Lord, Arhawk, Carol, or Dr. Jester, as more people know him. I want to give shoutouts to, I'm not good at names, you guys know that. Everybody on my team, right? Just the people that are very involved in this community. If you leave, I don't blame you. I hope you find something better to do. And please, try out the second day of Frostivus. People keep saying that this game isn't the most polished, and it's not the most polished in its look, but in terms of gameplay, I do believe it is probably the most polished out of anyone out there. Again, I surely spend 100 hours just making sure that all of the stats, all of the gameplay feels nice and satisfying and good. Anyway, that's what I want to say about the Frostivus contest. I know I was a little bit all over the place, but I just want to move on. I'm just disappointed. Not that I didn't win. I'm not disappointed in the about the fact that I didn't win. I'm disappointed about the fact that Valve used us and then threw us to the side. They treated one of their most passionate communities, one of their most active and involved communities, a community of creators, like trash. And it's just upsetting.